Hello, I'm Tilly Douglas, and today I'm going to show you my next step in how I create my art journals in the form of a tag book. So it's a tag art journal book. So in the last video I showed how I do my backgrounds, and in this video I'm going to show how I add the images and finish off the design. Now, I've been through and made sure that I've got all the correct images. So I've got two images for each tag, one for the front and one for the back, because I just wanted to match up the colours and make sure that I had the right colours for the right images. So I'm just going to crack on and get started with it. So what I used to stick them down with is this matte medium. You can use any sort of matte medium. This happens to be Winsor and Newton. So I just take the lid completely off and I use a little makeup sponge just for quickness. This is just when I'm doing these sort of images and I'm just going through very quickly to add the images. So my first one, I just love these images. They're just wonderful. So all I do is get a little bit of this matte medium on here. And just stick it down. Now, usually I wouldn't just put an image in the middle of one of these art journal pages or art tag pages, but for this set that I'm doing, this is just really just how I want them. I just want one image on the centre, or the centre-ish in some cases. So I just press that down with a piece of dry tissue. And with this matte medium, it's really good because you can draw over it. Now, do make sure it is completely dry, or any medium, any glue that you use, before you come in with any sort of pen to do any other designs, because you will ruin your pen. I know how impatient I am, and I've ruined many pens because I haven't waited long enough for it to dry. So you do wait for it to dry. But this matte medium is really good and it sticks very, very well. So that's that one. I'm going to put one on this side, just exactly the same. Just quickly whiz through them. And this, just using a sponge like this, just makes it so much quicker and easier, because these are quite big images really. It hasn't got a lot of fine detail on them, so it just works out really, really well. And if you find that you just miss any little bits, you just take one of your brushes. Don't use your best paint brushes, but just get a paintbrush and just go under the edge and stick it down. Makes it really, really simple. And then dab that down with your cloth, with your bit of tissue. There. That's that one done. First one finished. Not completely finished, but finished with the images. And see how, what I wanted was to get the images where they would stand out against the background. And I think those two stand out lovely. And they're just such beautiful images. So that's that one. I just find these images just such fun. They're just, there's quite a mixture of really fun images. I like quirky. I like anything quirky, so these suit me so much. So just put matte medium on. Matte medium, I use matte medium rather than anything else, because it doesn't crease the fabric. So if you're using a real wet glue, it can sometimes crease whatever fabric you're using, whether it's card or paper or whatever. This works really, really well. Now, another thing, these images are from Creative Fabrica. So you can go onto Creative Fabrica, find these beautiful images, print them out, and then cut them out. But I don't like fussy cutting. In fact, I really, really don't like fussy cutting, because it just takes me so long and I haven't got the patience. So as you can see, I like to do things very quickly. So what I use is my Cricut Maker, which you just upload them onto Cricut Design Space, their software, and then you print them out, and then the machine cuts them out. And they cut so well. I mean, I would not have had the patience to cut all these little bits of hair out, these dreadlocks out like this. But the Cricut Maker does all that work for you, which I love. So I get all my designs off Creative Fabrica. I pay a monthly subscription for that. You can either pay a monthly subscription and download as much as you want, and there is literally thousands and thousands, I think probably millions of things on there that you can download, all sorts of things. Let that one done. So I go on and I actually think going on there and finding all these images, put them on to create Design Space for my Cricut Maker, and then cutting them all out. I think that's a hobby in itself because I just love doing it. And what I do love about having a subscription rather than buying things individually is if you download something, you don't have to worry and think, well, I've paid for it, so I've got to use it, because you can download as much as you want. You're not downloading one thing, paying for it, downloading it, so then you've got to use it. With this subscription form, you pay once a month, so you know exactly where you stand with it, and you can download as much as you want. So if you did download something and then you think, oh, I'm not keen on that, or it's not going to work on my project, not quite what I thought it was going to be like, just download something else. Oh, you see what I've done here? I've put that over the little hole where my ring is going to go. So see if I can, I might just pop that bit out. I don't think I'll be able to slide that across now. Aren't they fun though? Such fun images. I love them. And there's so many. So I'm going to whiz through and do these, because I'm sure you don't want to watch me stick them all down. But if you haven't seen the video where I make the backgrounds, and if you're interested in that, I'll leave the link for that below. So if you want to go and have a look at that, feel free and follow along with this little tag journal that I'm making. Needs a little bit, oh no, that's stuck, a little bit here. So I'll get my little brush, put a bit more under there, and press that down. And because I've used paint, acrylic paint for the backgrounds rather than ink, you don't have to worry about getting any of this matte medium on the paint, because it's not going to smudge. Once it's dry, it's not going anywhere. But if you'd used inks on the background, then it would be messing up your image on your background image. So that's why I prefer to use paint rather than ink for my backgrounds. I do sometimes use inks, depending on what I'm going for, what look I want to finish up with, but I mostly use acrylic paints because they're so easy. And the background images, the backgrounds that I've made are so simple to do. So if you're struggling with backgrounds, I give a lot of tips in that video on how you can make your backgrounds very easily. So feel free to go and have a look at that. And I'll just whiz through these. I use this Uniball Gel Impact pen. It's a black pen and it's a 1mm, and I love this pen. I use it to go around all the edges of the images, and I also use it to go around some of the other parts in the images to make them stand out a bit more. It makes it a little bit more 3D, so it really does make a big difference using this pen, or any black pen, any black pen that you prefer. I just prefer this one. Now this is the part that takes me the longest because I use it a lot. I go around a lot of the parts just to make them really stand out. It does take me a long time. Obviously I'm not going to make you watch the whole lot because you would get very bored. But I'll just show a bit of what I do just so you get an idea of how I use it. These are the Arteza Markers, and these are a water-based ink, and they're fab. They're blendable and they really work really nicely. And I use two colours here. I've got 3 markers out there, but I only actually use 2 of them. And the 2 colours I use are Latte Brown, which is the lighter one, and I use that for the lighter colours of the backgrounds. And for the darker coloured backgrounds I use the Raw Umber. So I'm just testing out the markers on this scrap piece of card to see which ones I want to use. So this one here that I'm using, because it's on a lighter background, is the Latte Brown. And what I'm just doing is going around the edges and just putting a shadow down, just to make them even more 3D. To just really bring that image forward. And this is the Uniball Signo Broad, and this is the white, and I use that to highlight. I really can change an image quite dramatically, and this one particularly, you see, just pop those eyes in and it really makes them stand out. I'm using my black archival ink to sponge around the edges, and it just gives it a nice frame for the tags. If you want a reminder of anything that I've used whilst making this tag journal, then I've written all the details down and put on my blog. You'll find that at craftsspaceideas.com. Here I'm using my black Posca pen to do a bit of a border around the edge. I also use my white gel pen as well, so some of them have black and white borders. So I previously punched holes in the top when I made the tags using my crocodile, and now I'm using the same crocodile just to set the eyelets in the top. I'm using all the silver ones because I'm going to be using silver ring binders, so I wanted to keep them the same colour. I've also made a video of how I made the actual journal itself and how I lined things up and did all the dimensions. And there's also a flip through of the finished journal. So if you want to see the completed journal and all the pages, I'll leave the link for that video in the description below this video. So the next step is to put the trim in the eyelet at the top, and it just finishes it off nicely. This is, as you can see, just some washi tape, just folded in half, and makes a nice little trim. Just fold it in half, poke it through and tie a simple knot. Use all sorts of bits and pieces, bits of string, bits of lace trim, you can use yarn, anything that you've got to hand, you can really use whatever you want. So at this point I thought I was finished, and then decided no, not quite, I still want to do a little bit more. So I mixed some white paint with some water to thin it down a bit and put some splashes on, covering up the images because I didn't want it all over the images. Because we're never really quite finished, we always have to do a little bit more, never know when to stop. So that's my tag art journal all finished. It's got its little ring binders on and all its little trimmings. There's just one last step, and I just wanted to put some sentiment on the front. I'm not going to put them on all the pages because I want the images to talk for themselves. I've decided to go with the black words rather than the white because it's quite a dark themed book, and I think the black would work better. So I'm choosing some words out of the Tim Holtz Ideology Big Chat. using a red pro marker just to do some lines around the edges of the words. So the final step is to tie a piece of fabric through the ring binder to make a simple tie. And this fabric colour coordinates beautifully with the journal. So I do hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.